We start in Washington, where U.S. President Trump has delivered a White House address defending his economic policies. A growing number of Americans are worried about high living costs, but Trump sidestepped concerns about affordability. Instead, he pointed the finger at his predecessor, Joe Biden. Here's more from the U.S. president.
For the last 4 years, the United States was ruled by politicians who fought only for insiders, illegal aliens, career criminals, corporate lobbyists, prisoners, terrorists, and above all, foreign nations, which took advantage of us at levels never seen before. They flooded your cities and towns with illegal aliens. They decimated your hard-earned savings. They indoctrinated your children with hate for America. They just released a level of violent felons that we had never seen to prey on innocent. They caused war. They caused mayhem. They caused a horrible situation all over the globe. But now you have a president who fights for the law-abiding, hardworking people of our country, the ones who make this nation run, who make this nation work.
DW correspondent Janelle DeMalone told us what stood out to her from Trump's speech.
Much of this was familiar ground over the course of a 19-minute speech. These were themes we've heard before. Right from the opening line, 11 months ago, I inherited a mess and I'm fixing it. The target there was clear: Joe Biden, his predecessor, and what the president described as failures on the economy and the border. The speech focused on claims that his policies are driving prices down. Although many of those statements lacked context or the full picture, he said inflation has, quote, stopped. It hasn't. So the most recent data we have from September shows inflation running at an annual rate of about 3%. Inflation did fall to 2.3% in April, but it's risen since, and it's now roughly where it was in January when Trump took office. New figures have been delayed by the shutdown. They're expected tomorrow morning, Thursday morning, but are also not expected to look much better. He also claimed drug prices were cut by 400, 500, even 600%, a mathematical impossibility unless companies are paying consumers to take their medicines. There's plenty in that speech that would warrant fact-checking and pushback, but what stood out just as much was the tone. It was rushed, it was defensive, and delivered against the backdrop of slipping approval ratings. So that leaves the impression of a president who does protest too much.
A brief look now at some other stories making headlines at the moment. Donald Trump has added partisan plaques to a refashioned presidential walk of fame at the White House. He labeled his predecessor, Joe Biden, Sleepy Joe, and called Barack Obama divisive. Ronald Reagan is described as a fan of a young Trump. It's the latest in a series of recent moves to remake the White House in Trump's image.